Hello everyone again, this is Mr. G and I'm with part 2 of your 10-step process to making a perfect animation. And before we get to animating, it's a great idea to start with setting up 4 steps. So I kind of wanted to just break it off into 2 pieces. So the first thing is the setup 4 steps. Um, so that's what we're doing, that's our goal for this little lesson. The steps help you focus on strong poses. Uh, it lets you really get the main pieces of the action down and kind of just simplifies the whole process. There's a lot of good benefits of doing it this way. In fact, I was just kind of reminded and told that the majority of the work happens in steps, and then when you get to splining it out or using the graph editor, that's at the very, very, very end. So you want to do as much as you can in steps, and so yeah. Anyway, the next thing to do is we need to make a new file with our characters. So if you want to use the link rig I gave you, go for it. You could also use Demo Man. You could also use the Lego Man, or you can use your own character. I strongly encourage you to use your own character, just because I know how Link behaves, so I know what to look out for with all those issues and problems. So the first thing we need to do to get Link set up is we need to save as. It's always a good idea to save as, so Command Shift S or go to File and Save As. I'm just going to save it to the desktop, which I know is poo-pooed upon. Go ahead and make your folders, but I'll call it Link Step Set Up. Alright, and the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Maya, Preferences, and I want to go down to this Settings tab and the animation under the settings. The reason why I'm making you go to settings first is because there's 2 animation places. So you want to go to the animation underneath settings. Now, what you want to do is you want to turn on your auto keyer. That will help. And I want you to switch it to key all attributes. The default is key modified, and there's some people that are going to say that's what they want. But for us right now, we're going to do key all attributes. That will be easier. The next step is to go right down here to tangents, and the default in tangent will be linear, and the default out tangent will be stepped. And then you're going to hit save. Now, did you miss all that? I'm going to do it again real quick. I'm going to go to Maya, Preferences. I'm going to scroll down to Settings, Animation. I'm going to turn on the auto key. I'm going to change it to key all attributes. I'm going to change the in tangent to linear. I'm going to change the out tangent to stepped, and then hit save. That's all I'm going to do. That's step 1. Step number 2 is to get your timeline kind of in order. So down here and below, I said 3 to 12 seconds. So a minimum of 3 seconds is 3 times 24 is 72. 12 seconds is somewhere around 300 frames. So what you're going to want to do, just under 300 frames, what you're going to want to do is set up a timeline that you think, if you have 20 poses that you have drawn, or 20 thumbnails that you have drawn, you're going to want 200 frames. Basically, you want to do a pose every 10 frames. So I have about 22 drawings that I've done on my piece of paper. So I'm going to put in about 250 frames here. Oops, wrong one. I'm going to hit 250 frames on that one. So I have a nice big timeline, and it's marking every 10. All right. That's one thing you want to do. The next thing you want to do is on pose number 1, on frame number 1, excuse me. On frame number 1, you want to keyframe everything. Now, unfortunately, selecting a box like this does not work. It only selects the handles that you have. It doesn't select the entire hierarchy. And clicking on one, even though it looks like everything's selected, it's really only the chest joint that's been selected. So what you want to do is you want to select everything. Now to select everything, you're going to grab this handle down below. You're going to right click on it, and you're going to choose Select Hierarchy. And notice everything's white except for the last thing on my hierarchy, which is my eye control. So it's selected everything through this chain, and it's gone through and selected everything from there. Now I'm never going to animate with the ground control, but I'm just going to use it once to kind establish this one spot. So what this will do is it will activate my auto key. Auto key is this little red button down here in the lower right hand corner, and it will automatically keyframe or track any movement I do once I establish a keyframe. So what I did was I picked every single keyable attribute on Link here, and I pressed S and gave it a key on frame number 1. Okay? Now he's still in his T pose, and that's the way I'm going to want it for right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to frame number 10. And what will actually happen is I'm going to do a pose every 10 frames starting on 10. So pose number 1 here is going to be on frame number 10. So the last thing I want to do is I just want to kind of hide my T pose. I don't even want to see it. So on this little button here, instead of 1, I'm going to type in 10. And now I have 10, 20, 30, 40. And I'm just going to go through and pose every one of my poses. The last step before getting it all ready to start animating is I want to set up a camera. And what I'm going to do to this camera is this camera is going to allow me to animate within the confines of one lens. So I don't have to worry about the 360 view of how this character is going to look as he's moving around. I'm just going to worry about how he's focused through one lens. So it should cut down on your animating time. So there's two other things I like to do. I like to set up the layout and the camera. So the first thing I want to do is go to Create, Camera, Camera. And now you'll see the camera appear down there right between his legs. And I want to actually view through the camera. So I'm going to go to Panel, Perspective, Camera 1. And now I'm looking through the camera lens. And I'm going to adjust it and film it so that I have him there. Now the last thing I want to do is the way I move Maya around, it can actually change the aspect ratio. So to kind of lock that aspect ratio in is I want to go to View and go to Camera Settings and turn on the film gate. And what the film gate will do is it will keep it in this is set for 3x4. I can go in and change the settings if I wanted to, but this is good. And now I'm set. I have shown you how to lock something before, and to lock something you would grab these camera angles and select all of them by holding down Shift, right click, and choose Lock Selected. You can choose to have it locked, but some of you like to move stuff around. I'm going to leave this camera angle locked for now, just to kind of show you how it's done. And what I like to do is I like to create my own layout. So to make my own layout, I can go to Panel and then choose Layouts, and I can do a 2-pane side by side. And what I can do here is on this panel, I can make it my perspective, and I can view stuff around like this. And then on this one, it's still my locked camera. So no matter what happens, I can still adjust and move stuff around here. And do what I need to do and change my angle if I need to help grab something. And I can still see the result of it through the camera lens. So this is a nice, convenient way to kind of keep stuff mapped out. Later, when we get to the graph editor and dope sheet, you can actually make a 3-pane layout, this will wind up being the dope sheet or the graph editor or anything else you'd like. So helpful things to work with. And we are now set up to animate. All right.